Before the pandemic, a lot of employees complained that the open plan office was noisy and distracting. And it wasn't uncommon to hear people say that they are not going to the office because they can't get their work done or they can't focus. Um, Fast forward now to 2022. In the past 3 years, we've all been working from home and being able to focus at home.
Yeah.
And how has that changed our perception of being able to focus, looking for the privacy that we need in the office? What are new ways to approach privacy? Hi, I'm Samantha Jam, and today I'm with Daniel Du, design principal from Unispace Singapore. Hi, Daniel. Nice to have you here.
Likewise, I'm so glad to be here as well to share my views and to learn something from Steelcase as well.
And to just start and tell us more about Unispace.
Sure. Unispace is a very integrated design and build company. We have a team of talents from a spectrum of workplace strategies to design, like myself. And we do have graphics designers sit in the same office and project managers as well. So we provide a very comprehensive service, and we do believe in providing a one-stop shop for our clients. Yeah.
Interesting. And so today on the topic of privacy, based on our recent survey of global employees, more than 50,000 employees from all over the world, we asked them what were the top 5 needs that you have that's most important to you. And what was really interesting was the needs for collaboration, of course, and privacy and the space for single person encaves for hybrid meetings came up as kind of top 3. So privacy was a recurring theme. Is this something that you're hearing from your clients as well?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I don't think it would be a standalone case whereby privacy can be talked about individually. It's a lot more than that. And I know we could go in depth and it would take us days and days, but just as an overview, a lot of our clients that myself and my strategy team did workshops with, we realized that the 2 main groups of people are as such. The first group are, Asians. We like to have big families, and we all stay together with our mothers, sisters, brothers, and everybody.
The multi-generation households.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. So being at home don't necessarily mean you could focus individually. And there's the other group of people, such as myself, a swinging bachelor. I stay alone, and being alone at home means I could focus, but that also means that I don't have the connection with other people, right? To keep my sanity, I really need to meet people. So that's why I said that we couldn't look at privacy on its own. It needs to be privacy plus. That's what we found from most of our clients, actually.
I think that's really interesting. That it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all concept, that it really depends on your persona.
Yeah.
And absolutely, I think when we look at the Asia statistics in terms of the global report, definitely Asia had a different skew in terms of people wanting to come back, because most of Asian families are bigger.
Yes.
The houses and might be a little bit smaller,
Tiny,
right? Real estate in Asia is probably one of the highest in the world. So whether you're in Hong Kong, Singapore, or Tokyo, it might be a different situation. Yeah. So employees are coming back to focus in the office.
Yeah, that's very true. And to be blessed with the public transportation in Singapore and everywhere else in Asia, Hong Kong, Japan, and everywhere else, public transport is so convenient that it really doesn't make a factor to prevent people from coming back. The only reason that prevents people from coming back is that the office is not well designed enough to attract people to come back. Yeah. That's my thought anyways. Yeah.
I think that lies the interesting moment for us now, that it is a moment where many organizations are rethinking about how to bring employees to motivate, to inspire teams to come back to the office. And we know employees want to come back. And now the question is, can we design a different way? When we talk about the open office, in many ways it's a concept that was alive for a long time. very often talk about as rows of cubicles or
Yeah.
benches. And do you see that going away? Do you see that staying?
I feel it's something that would stay. In the bigger picture, I think in general, people want to go back to an office with an open plan. First of all, it meets the needs of real estate efficiency, and as well as ergonomic desires of the personal users of that space. And I'm very sure that not everybody could afford to have a full ergonomic setup at home with proper desk and chairs. So an open plan workspace is still very crucial, I would say, but it doesn't really give enough incentive to bring people back. So that's where we come in with things like this, like the pods, collaboration areas like this, and meeting areas like this. So it makes a whole environment. I would like to see the design of a place to be more like an environment, more than a place to work. So it needs to have a landscape of different settings, and like I said, even in a broad picture, there's already two groups of people: the group with a bachelor pad and then the group with a large family. So everybody have different needs and different reasons to go back. That's why we can't look at the workplace with one view. We need to really dig deep and really look at it from a multiple facet,
It is not a surprise that close to 45% of our respondents to the global survey prefer working from home. And one of that key work from home experience was about collaborating over Teams or Zoom with your colleagues from somewhere else, in the same country or another country, remote joiners, right? And they know that if they had to go to the office, they may not be able to find a meeting room or a private space for them to do those calls. Are you hearing sort of that increasing pain point from any of our clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned as well earlier, that a workspace, a workstation becomes an ergonomic work point purely just to work. People don't see it as a focus point anymore. So then products like these phone booths really are very, very crucial in making the whole environment work. So things like this, for example, this one, you would fit one person in there with a really comfortable lounge sofa, and this one would be one person as well with a bar stool. So these two products, I see it as a very important addition to any office environment to supplement that focus area and focus space for individuals. So for example, this set here, it could be used for a longer period of time. So if somebody is working on a workstation and it's just purely work and needs to hop onto a conference call for an hour or two, this probably would be their choice. Being comfortable, they could sit and lounge and take a call for an hour or two.
Yes.
Then this will provide for absolute, acoustic privacy and some sort of comfort as well. Then there's another level that when you're in an open, you might feel you need to take a phone call for real quick, have a chat with check up on your kids or whatever. Then this setting here would be really important. Comfort might not be the first choice, but it's jump in and jump out really quickly. So an easy bar stool like this allows that. You could jump in for a quick phone call, and then when you're done, you just jump out. So these two settings, they work the same way in terms of visual and audio acoustics, but it serves a different mood. It serves a different purpose. So I feel that and again, design-wise, it provides for variety as well. So aesthetically, we really do need to understand and look at it at the big picture and propose things that would suit.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to call call out the difference, and we also look at from our user observation that employees are not comfortable perching or standing up for too long. And the idea was, it's not meant for that long duration.
Yeah.
However, if you really need to have 30 minutes to yourself, do not disturb because you're really trying to finish some strategic report, and you find one of these comfortable spaces to linger as long as you need. And we know some clients actually make this bookable spaces, some are not bookable. Like the phone booth, maybe you don't make it bookable, right?
Yeah.
Everybody can just jump in and use it at any time, and as long as you see that it's vacant. So I think those are great ideas for how to address different kinds of privacy needs in the office. Many teams are coming back to the office for that face-to-face collaboration. Some of, what are the things that teams do? Right? They need to solve complex problems, difficult issues, which might be difficult to have that over brainstorming session over a conference call. So we know that many teams are coming back to the office. And of course, as they come back to the office, they need these private spaces to have those collaborative moments. Are you seeing any new trends as it comes to designing for this type of work mode?
Sure. I feel the main shift in mindset post-pandemic is a lot of organizations start to ask for flexible real estate, and one of the law firm projects that I've been working on with my strategy team, law firms traditionally
Rooms
and rooms and rooms,
Yes.
and they are really very hierarchical in a way. And there is this particular law firm project that Unispace has been working on for a couple of months now. That they try to break out of that mold, and while they feel like partners would have a certain aesthetics and still give them the respect that they deserve in a traditional law firm, but they also understood the requirements and the need to have a flexible real estate. Financially and efficiency-wise, it just makes sense. So therefore, in a lot of law firms, they would have really private and confidential discussions sometimes.
Yes.
Clients, they might have conflicting clients sometimes. So we do understand the need for the rooms, to be honest. That's why in the new space, we do have catered for areas like this, the pods, which again, it acts like a traditional enclosed office, for example. You could have the option of covering this up with glass or leave it open. But things like products like this, because they are demountable and they are movable, therefore it makes sense for a flexible and future-proofing workspace. And this also provides for the acoustics that they require and they desire. And the furniture that goes inside is open for discussion as well. Because traditionally, a law firm, it would be a standard desk, L-shaped desk with rows and rows of shelves, right? But as you can see from here, you could have high bar tables, or even this setting, it's a very comfortable lounge sitting that could accommodate easily 2, 4 to 6 person. So then it starts to bring people up to a more modern mindset. Like, I'm a lawyer, but I can be cool, like a cool lawyer. And that, again, furnitures like this, because it's very mobile and very flexible, they could easily, take this out one day and they decide, maybe I don't need this. And they could reuse the shell of this and turn this into a professional office with a traditional workstation or a executive workstation. And yet, these things don't go to waste. It's reusable.
Yeah.
So this is something that the client really appreciate us bringing it up as a point of discussion, and they were glad that we did push the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think flexibility is key on addressing privacy. you may not get it right day one. You may not get it right day one. So I think having the option to change things out, whether in the interiors or moving the unit completely, it's good optionality to have. Especially now, in this current situation where people are not sure how much real estate you might need in the next 2 years, and so on and so forth. So it's really interesting that changes are happening even in the more established industries like law firms, where historically the partners have rooms and confidential materials are in the rooms. We are seeing a red thread also with leaders, right? In the past, many leaders prefer to have their own rooms because they can have confidential calls. They can bring teams into their rooms and have more coaching sessions. What we find that many clients are transforming pods like this between meeting rooms to leaders' room and interchangeably used and bookable. So those are all, again, more opportunities as well. And in the open area, for private collaboration, in the privacy for teams in the open, do you find people accept that more in the open area versus, people would prefer to go in the enclosed room, or they're happy collaborating in the open space, they feel comfortable?
Well, I feel that post-pandemic, a lot of people became more open-minded. I'm not sure why, but it just happens to maybe we are all too closed off for a really long period of time. We don't see people enough for the past 2 years, and I do find like more and more of our clients have an open mind to have meetings in the open, and they are in a way. I feel employers, they do have this stigma of, I shouldn't let my boss hear certain things that I say. He might have a certain idea of,
Or your other colleagues.
Whatever. But I feel that post-pandemic, the leadership people really do change as well. And as mentioned, they empower their staff a bit more. We talked about, not being in the office doesn't mean that you're not working. That trust has been built. So a lot of staff, they also feel like, since I can trust my boss, I would be more open and be who I am anywhere in the office, not only in a safe, protected space.
I think that's a increasing adoption of employees in the open space, and I like what you refer to. I feel like I'm coming to the office more than I used to. It's almost like the travel revenge. Used to, you can't travel for 3 years, and then now you say, okay, I'm gonna go to hit all these places that I have not been before. A little bit like the office, you haven't seen your colleagues for so long, you just feel like you don't have enough time to catch up with everybody. So more reason why to head back to the office to celebrate that.
Absolutely. We are social animals, and we will always be.
And what are your thoughts about privacy for teams in the open space? With COVID coming and going, many of us would still have a little habit of not standing too close, or being a bit more cautious. We had that 2-meter rule at some point, remember? And so do you see more teams collaborating in the open space, and what does that do in terms of privacy, or privacies, thinking in facades of privacy, right? Whether it's a visual privacy, the content you're sharing, whether it's acoustics, can I hear what you're saying? There's a few nuances around privacy. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing?
So there is a shift in the setup of a workstation per se. So when we talk about workstations, we talk about the space where people would work for extended hours. So in the past, pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, we do still hear people requesting for workstations with really high panels at the front, at the side, and they really treat the workstation as their private space. But post-pandemic, post-COVID, we begin to realize that more and more people realize that the workstation is just a tool for ergonomic work. So when they need to work comfortably for a certain period of time, they will go to a workstation, but they don't necessarily see it as a focused space. So that's where products like the booths come in to supplement that as well. So we see more and more organizations and more people accepting workstations to be just a space to work and not really to come in and focus and really be alone because nobody really wants to be alone. We all can be alone at home, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think many of us, and we had another session this morning talking about being social and coming to the office and feeling that sense of belonging and community. And that's why we come to the office, right? If you really truly want uninterrupted work and you have an uninterrupted, a quiet space at home to do that, then you very well might do your focus work at home. By seeing your work point as to support kind of bursts of work, quick checking emails. It's a different idea, and maybe the desk is not even your own personal desk. It's just any desk. And any chair that gives you some instant comfort, and you can then go somewhere else to do what work more you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people are being more empowered now to know that they can move around and they don't really, they don't really feel like, oh, if my boss don't see me means I'm not working. That mindset have shifted since, and superiors start to understand as well. If I don't see you, it doesn't mean that you're not working. So that gives another layer of confidence for people to start to use alternative work points like this more efficiently in the office.
I think that's a brilliant point. Ultimately, what we all learn as leaders and peer-to-peer learning, that attention, being coming to work and being engaged versus attendance, it's much more important, right?
Yeah.
Attendance, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Even in school, right now, I
Yeah.
think learning is transformed.
Yeah.
Many students go to the school, and many of students have choices. They can
Yeah.
actually zoom in from home to learn. So I think this whole notion of attention versus attendance is really fascinating and one of the best outcome. I think of the pandemic. So what is keeping Unispace busy? I think what would be interesting is to hear, I think Unispace deals a lot with local leading organizations versus maybe some of the global companies. Are you seeing some differences or similarities between their approach in terms of bringing teams back to the office?
Absolutely, there is. So in Unispace, we do have global accounts. We have offices across the US, Europe, and in Australia as well. So in Asia, Singapore would be considered our headquarters for Asia. So we also do have a team in Hong Kong, in India, Mumbai, and Bangalore as well. So we do have clients that are global, and I'm working with one of them right now. We were designing for them in Sydney and Adelaide, and eventually it came to us, and we are doing a fit out for them in Kuala Lumpur. And in the past, I feel that organizations like this, they do have a more rigid implementation. What I meant by that is that they have a global guideline. Every company will have a global guideline, MNCs and such. They would say, this is what we want to do. Every country will be the same. We have a playbook, and you just literally copy and paste in every location. But post-pandemic, they realized that should not be the case, and it should be very, very much local focused. So when we got this project in Kuala Lumpur, the Unispace team in Singapore, we have to do our own due diligence as well. So we flew down to Kuala Lumpur, have a look at the environment, we have a look at the space, the office that they would go in. Then our strategy team also worked with the designers quite closely, to find out, how different is the culture and how different does the KL team work compared to Adelaide and Sydney and every other Australian branches, right? So then we have a list of findings that we gave back to the client, and they realized that, okay, there are certain things that we have to be strict about and we have to follow as a guideline, but there are things that they are very open-minded to change. So this is something that is very, very different pre-pandemic, and even, even up to a couple of years ago. I think it's a very different thing that organizations like this are open for different change and being different, basically. And on the flip side, we do have smaller local startups. I personally just delivered a project as well. You could look it up in my LinkedIn, Unispace LinkedIn. It's with G&M. So the boss of G&M, he's very open-minded. So a shout out to him. And it was a very, very interactive and dynamic session that we have with him and his team, with my strategy team and myself. We did workshops, we did interviews and whatnot. And companies like this, they don't have a hierarchy, right? They don't have a playbook. They don't have anybody to answer to. So they are very open-minded in what we have to say and what we have to propose and challenge them with. So the outcome of projects like this, I personally find it's very rewarding. It could turn out to be very bespoke to the company and not everybody else. So that's what I feel post-pandemic, there is a shift. Smaller organizations, they no longer look up to MNCs and say, I want to copy that. That is what I aspire to do. They have their own point of view. And MNCs, on the other hand, they look at a micro level as well. They no longer said, I'm the big boss, you have to follow everything that I dictate you to do, but they are willing to listen and they are willing to make change on a smaller micro level.
That's fascinating. And I think, from a corporate level, I think about even our own offices. I think there is, of course, a desire to have consistent experience and to also to support regional teams in the rollout, because after all, we never have enough resources to do all our fit outs. But at the same time, in the past, if you were doing a project in Adelaide or Sydney, you just get on a plane and go and help. But now, I think given air travel is so expensive, and I think there is a sense of decentralization, as you mentioned. And I think from the smaller startups, the local leading organizations, a willingness to try and reinvent the office and reimagine the office. So it's a very interesting moment indeed, where everybody seems to be finding their foot in the new world of work. And attrition, bringing a talent in is somewhat the common game, right? But getting people motivated.
Yes, it is. Yeah, we do genuinely feel that organizations now, they are not crunching numbers saying that I need a certain percentage of people coming back to office, but they genuinely care about the welfare and wellness of their staff, and say that, we want to create a workspace that people genuinely would feel like they want to come, and not by force, but by choice. Yeah.
Fantastic. Are there any design tips in closing? 1 or 2 design tips for clients thinking about privacy? That you really must have that consideration as you kind of go forth and reimagine your new workplace.
For me, I feel the first tip is to listen. Everybody is different. All organizations are different. There is no one size fit all. And in terms of privacy in the new workspace, I also feel that designers need to be bold and daring, and just show the clients what's in the market. There's so many good products out there that a lot of clients, as a layman, they do not understand. And designers have the obligation to push boundaries and to challenge clients as well. So my design tip would be, don't be afraid, and just keep trying, ask questions, and keep pushing until the line cannot be pushed. You will get a good outcome out of it.
Thanks, Daniel, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this session and a little brainstorm and ideas around how to address privacy in the workplace.